Hey everyone, it's Mike from Air Raid Attack Podcast. Let me talk to you for just 1 minute. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain to you in 5 simple steps. Number 1, it's free. Number 2, there is creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Number 3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Number 4, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Number 5, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, how do you sign up? It's simple. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of the Air Raid Attack Podcast. I'm your host, Michael. As always, subscribe to us on iTunes and Google, anywhere you get your major podcasts from. Give us a listen, like, subscribe, follow, whatever you may have. Also, follow the show on Twitter, airraid_podcast. Best way to get behind the scenes when I'm not busy and up to minute on who's coming on and all that good stuff. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we got the wonderful David joining us again. David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
I am as well. As we discussed, if you guys don't know, we are here, at least here in, in the heartland of the country, here in Oklahoma City, metro area. Put it that way. And I don't know. When did it start? What would you say, David? Last Friday is when all this run started?
I want to say last Friday or Saturday. This when it really started. In fact, where I live, I was near a park where it was supposed to be a car show last Saturday, and it got canceled because of the rain, which I was really bummed out because last year it got canceled. The whole festival got canceled because of COVID. So I was really looking forward to getting back into it, but I guess the weather had other ideas. The good news is this weekend's supposed to be dry, which is great because they're having a parade on Saturday and then the fireworks on Sunday. So at least we can look forward to that.
Absolutely. And of course, all you out there here in America, I know we got listeners across the globe, but definitely here in America, happy 4th of July. Be careful out there. This is probably the biggest year I would say. You would have the freak accidents, the weird deaths, unfortunately, due to fireworks. So definitely stay safe when you're celebrating with your families and friends, and enjoy this weekend. I know myself, I definitely will. I got a 3-day weekend coming up this weekend, so I'm not complaining. Are you working on Monday, David?
Yeah, I'm working on Monday. There's a few guys that are working on Saturday. I'm not one of them. We're splitting into 2 different teams for the weekend, so we don't have to work every Saturday. You can if you want to. There are a couple of psychopaths, I call them, that work every weekend, and I'm like, hey, I want part of my weekends if I can. So they split everybody into 2 teams, and they alternate, and luckily the team that I'm on is off this Saturday, so I'll be able to enjoy the weekend with my friends and family.
Very nice. Nah, it's this is probably the only time of the year that I would say I would gladly take a 3-day weekend, but at the same time, I would gladly to work. It does not bother me one inch from another. It's now the Thanksgiving and Christmas is a whole different ball game, but nonetheless, looking forward to it. But yeah, if you guys are joining us, listening real quick before we get the show going, it's been raining off and on. It's not like the Northwest Pacific where it is 116 degrees in Portland and Seattle and all that good stuff. So definitely not that, but we're getting our fair share of what I would consider Miami humidity and rain. And as much as I enjoy the rain, it's getting tiresome just because it's you don't know when it's going to hit. But in the meantime, we are going on live on Twitter, or we should try to. Keeps reconnecting, but nonetheless, let's keep things going and let's get things started. Demaryius Thomas, former wide receiver of the Denver Broncos, played his final year in the New York Jets in 2019. Officially hangs up his cleats. Of course, one of the best in Denver to play the game. Of course, you get a lot of input on, how does he rank from top to bottom. I would definitely put him up there. Definitely not past Rod Smith, but I would definitely put him up there nonetheless. David, what would your input on Demaryius' career? Of course, short-lived. I know towards the end of his Bronco career, he was facing quite a bit of injuries. Of course, with the Jets, I believe, same situation, injury prone as well. But overall, Demaryius Thomas, of course, Super Bowl champion with the Super Bowl 50 champion, so on and so forth. Your thoughts on his career? Where would you rank him with the Denver Broncos grades? Like I said, I don't have him past Rod Smith or even Floyd Little. But nonetheless, he would definitely be up there on my end. But your thoughts on Demaryius Thomas's career as a NFL wide receiver?
Well, first off, he's been a tremendous asset to the Broncos for the time he played with them from 2015 2010 rather, when he was drafted with the in the first round with their first pick that they had, and I was initially very excited about it because I'd seen him a few highlights in college. I knew that he was very athletic, very very good sized receiver. Wasn't considered small by stature. 6'3 1/4" and just over 220 pounds. Very, very good receiver. Unfortunately, the injuries kind of hampered his career from the get-go. He was actually broke his foot before the combine, and they was able to get his measurements, but was not able to participate in the combine, and that kind of set the tone for his career. It was shortened by injury, which is unfortunate because I would have lived to see him at least play 15, 16 years in the league. He reminds me, he's borderline tight end, which was very, 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 very good to have. I would actually put him up there with Ed McCaffrey as far as the Broncos are concerned, because he was very flexible in some play design packages.
Absolutely, and I know I'm working on our Twitter live feed, so bear with us for all that's actually watching currently live. But no, anyway, so Demaryius Thomas, absolutely, he carried a wonderful career in college at Georgia Tech, first round pick out of Georgia Tech. A lot had him compared to a potential Calvin Johnson, maybe not so much the height and athleticism, but in regards to how he can spread the field, so on and so forth. Definitely, we all remember, if you're a Denver Bronco fan, though, I got quite a bit on here. We all remember him against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card game when Tebow, yes, Tim Tebow, threw the 80-yard bomb, the first play of overtime, to send the Broncos to Foxborough, where eventually they got routed to the New England Patriots. But nonetheless, of course, over 9,700 yards receiving. I'm looking at the stats currently. Looks like we're at, I'm so blind as a bat, 63 touchdowns. Obviously, it's not going to be what I would consider. He'll make the Hall of Fame. I don't think first ballot, even though Calvin Johnson is first ballot. Calvin Johnson has better stat numbers. The only thing Demaryius DT has is a ring, something that Calvin didn't, unfortunately, couldn't get a hold of. Nonetheless, and what's funny is, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to make the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to sit on that one. I think a lot of Broncos hasn't made the Hall of Fame, I think, should be in way before Demaryius. But that's a whole bit different topic. But I know one thing, that the criteria seems to have a ring. If you have a ring, you got a better chance. However, nonetheless, wonderful career by Demaryius. Wish him all the best in whatever he decides to do. Unfortunately, injury, career prone for the most part. And it's unfortunate because I thought he had a bright future. Of course, Peyton Manning helped him. I thought Tebow kind of led, but Manning really helped showcase what he can do. And of course, towards the end of the career, then, unfortunately, but with injuries. So, no, nonetheless, of course, as we talked about, Demaryius Thomas retiring. He's awfully young, I would say, age-wise.
Yeah, he's actually about my age. He was born on Christmas Day of all things, in 1987. So he's around our age. And again, he's retiring more than likely due to injuries that he suffered. I mean, he tore his Achilles after the 2011 season. He just scrolling through some of his stats, and it's just like he missed multiple games because of injury. And again, that's one of the reasons that he had unfortunately led to his early retirement, because I would love to see him done full health. But that's just the game of football, I suppose.
Yeah, I would say so. Career, could you arguably say cut short? You can potentially say that. But nonetheless, definitely great career. I know with the Jets, he wasn't very productive with the Jets. 36 catches, 433 touchdowns. So, I mean, his numbers dropped towards the latter of his career, but I wish him the best. Hopefully, we can see him on the sidelines. Maybe comes to coaching or what have you. So,
yeah, I think he may be a tremendous coach. Of course, Peyton Manning wished him all the best, and then he was actually said that he signed with the Broncos, when Peyton Manning signed with the Broncos, he was excited about Demaryius Thomas and said that it's very nice to have someone like him on your team. So if you can get that from Peyton Manning, you're pretty good.
yeah, Peyton Manning, he's one that obviously the chances of him coming on the show is none, but he'll be one guy I would love just to pick his brain, I should say, just because of all the input that he gives and produces and so on and so forth. He's just one guy I can guarantee you can probably go on and on and on and listen to all these stories.
Yeah.
If you're watching on Twitter live, I'm definitely apologizing. I don't know what's going on. I want to give this shot one last time. As we all know, the wonderful Rob Manfred, the commissioner of the Major League Baseball, he's got himself in a really, really bad situation. As you know, David, of course, I'm a big baseball person. We now obviously got, I guess this is now officially week 1 or week 2 of what I like to call the sticky situation for the league. Obviously, start off Garrett Cole, a few names that was mentioned about potentially using the substance. Garrett Cole, the Yankees, so on and so forth. Now we see, I don't know if you saw, but Max Scherzer, the ace for the Nationals, definitely a future Hall of Famer. He is unhappy when he gets inspected by the umps. Of course, that was prompted by former Yankee manager, now current manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, Joe Girardi. He prompts that happening, and then a few hours later, the Oakland Athletics reliever, Sergio Romo, he displays his feelings about it. Of course, now we got the suspension of the pitcher. I think it was Hector Santiago of Seattle. He got caught with it. I think it might have been last week or the week prior when Dan had me on his show. And we talked about it very briefly. What's your thoughts, first off, on this whole sticky situation, first off? Second of all, is this the next black eye that the league didn't want? Because let's be honest, if you look at the original black eye, forget Pete Rose's gambling issues, but we got the steroid issue with so many people: Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Jason Giambi, Alex Rodriguez, Rafael Palmeiro. The list goes on and on. Where does this put that at in regards to black eyes? But what's your personal thoughts on just this really sad situation that the league's in now? Obviously, cracking down. Is it the right thing? I mean, obviously, I don't condone cheating. I don't want people like, oh, now you condone cheating. No. Okay, if Garrett Cole gets caught, he gets caught. You got to serve your time. But nonetheless, of course, the Yankees can't get nothing anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But
What's your overall thoughts on this sticky situation that Rob Manfred, the commissioner, is in right now?
Well, it's been sticky stuff is one of those unwritten rules of baseball. It's written in the rules where you can't use it, but everyone knows that pitchers always use it.
Yep.
And I don't know what prompted Commissioner Manfred to start feeling as necessary to start cracking down on it. It's just one of those things where you just let the pitchers get caught, and the fact that you mentioned Max Scherzer. I mean, he it was like 3 times in the game, and he was like the third time he was just about delighted to the umpires. He was like, hey, I'm trying to pitch here, and you're delaying the game and trying to inspect me, making a circus out of this. And then Sergio Romo later that night, of all things, very displeased with it. In fact, he dropped his pants.
Yep.
And the umpire's like, whoa, that's way too much right now. And I think it was kind of showing the commissioner like, hey, this is getting ridiculous. It's gonna, if it doesn't get nipped in the bud, this thing needs to stop, in my opinion. Let the pitchers do what they need to do. The player adapt. The batters will learn to adapt. It's what they always do, and they've always done it. And the pitchers are just gonna, it's just don't get caught. That's what the rule is. Don't get caught. And Hector Santiago, he got suspended today, even though I believe it was rosin, and rosin is a legal substance, but you can't have it on your glove hand. And it's like, okay, this thing needs to be thrown away, because if Major League Baseball isn't careful, it's going to be up there with a bigger black eye than the steroid scandal, because you're going to have pitchers that refuse to pitch because they're like, hey, I need help gripping the baseball, and I don't want to get caught and suspended 10 games because of this. So it's got a chance to get out of control of Major League Baseball to stop this circus.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you look at the league, and obviously the umpires have handled it well, even though you might say it's overdone. But for the most part, they're doing their job. I get that. They're doing their job. Cool. I get that. Congrats. Obviously, it's not their fight. The league's come down to them saying, hey, you guys need to do a better job, of course, keeping an eye on this. Let's kind of watch out for the signals, the signs, so on and so forth. We obviously now got in a situation to where now we're getting to warmer weather. And you've obviously watched baseball quite a bit as well, David. And teams like, for example, the New York Yankees, I've watched them growing up, and they've always struggled. And that's why I'm not really too worried about this team, though. The pitching's the biggest issue. Is April, May, they've always struggled. June, they kind of get going. July, of course, throughout into October is when they really get going. Offenses are starting to warm up. Is it a timing issue that we got? They probably now realized, maybe the spin, because now they've got the spin. Well, there's not so much spin. The batting average went from here to here, and so on and so forth. Well, you get warmer we're now in warmer weather, which your muscles are more loosening up. Overall, it's just teams are now can hit. And I'm not saying it wasn't no sticky situation with Garrett Cole and with Max Scherzer. I'm not saying that, but if you're Rob Manfred right now, first of all, I hate to bring this up because I know I'm a repetitive individual when it comes to this, but we still got to talk about discipline when it comes to Houston Astros and the trash cans.
Yeah, because it was one of those things where, it got revealed. And I hate to mention this, but I think the only appropriate punishment should be that the Astros should vacate their World Series championship. Don't necessarily award it to the Dodgers.
Well, no, exactly. No, just be a vacate.
But just vacate like the NCAA. I mean, you look at, you go through the list of NCAA football champions. There's quite a few in recent years that it says no champion because the schools got caught with recruiting violations and vacated it. They just left it empty. And lay claim to it. The teams that they beat didn't lay claim to it. It just says there's no the NCAA doesn't have a champion for that year. And I think that Major League Baseball needs to do that for the Astros to make a statement, because otherwise you're just asking for a repeat. And going back to the sticky substance for a bit, there's a pitcher, Garrett Richards, last Wednesday said he has to basically figure out a new way, a completely different way to pitch, because he can't get a proper grip on a baseball. If Rob Manfred really wants it, I guess you're going to start leading to a more hit batters, and that's going to lead to even more ejection, because then it's going to like, okay, the umpire's going to determine whether that was intentional or not, or wait, because I can't grip the dang gun baseball now.
Well, I mean, look, if the batters suddenly start hitting 270, 280, 290, this team starts scoring, let's say 5 to 6 to 8 runs, then we're going to have to look at it in a way to where, how can we help the pitchers? Well, the pitchers really suck. And now is it Garrett Cole's arm? He's been up and down. Well, it could be Max Scherzer. It could be whoever. Steven Strasburg. I don't care who. Could be the David Price. It could be, Trevor Bauer. The list goes on. Jonathan Gray. If you're an OU student, you know Jonathan Gray with the Colorado Rockies. But all this. Then we get to the pitchers. Well, they need help. But which it's pardon my French. Darn if I ain't gonna say it, but darn if do, darn if you don't, type of thing. So I don't know. It's just gonna be one of those things. I think it's just Rob Manfred has himself really in a tough spot, whether or not a lot of people agree. However he handles it, I don't know. But nonetheless, the Major League Baseball, it's another bad look, because we all remember, I know you're old enough as well to remember the steroid era, and then we get the Houston Astros. Well, it's not only them, it's the Yankees use the cameras, the Dodgers use the cameras, whoever. I'm sure there's other teams out there that use the cameras. But I don't know. The league is really, really in a bad spot.
Yeah, they really are. And I think and kudos to me. I want to give Rob Manfred a little bit of kudos for trying to do something about it, because it was obvious the pitchers were using substances, and even though it's it is in the rule book, it can be kind of sticky substance on a glove hand, and you can't doctor the baseball. That's what the rules state. But it's the fact that they're trying to do it in the middle of the season that's really questioning things, instead of waiting until the off season to figure out how to enforce it. Because now you're just trying to do this on the fly, and baseball is one of those games you can't really do things on the fly.
No, it's as much as I may or may not like Rob Manfred, he's done a decent job with this. Tackled it from the get-go. Noticed that, hey, we're getting a lot of whatever stats are showing up really oddly now, and then we're fighting it, and then all of a sudden, hey, guess what? We're not. And hey, who knows? Maybe they're fighting it to the end, to where you never know. I don't know. But in the meantime, we'll see. We're getting close to the All-Star break. 2 weeks away, I think is where we're at.
Yeah, we're about 2 weeks away, and the uniforms were revealed, which I think is kind of a bit of a farce. I'm one of the guys that prefers the teams to wear. They can wear the hats that they have, but I like to see wear their respective jerseys on the field. It's one of the cool things about baseball is you get to see a Yankees and Red Sox jersey on the same field at the same time, and you'll see a Dodgers and a Padres and Rockies, Cardinals jersey. You see all these different jerseys. One of the cooler things. I don't really like all-star uniforms. I like them to have their normal uniforms on. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm not a. I'd rather see the Yankees pinstripes. I'd rather see, the Dodger blue. I don't want to see from what I read, a lot of people love the uniforms. I personally haven't seen them yet. I'm not saying I'm not ignoring them. I just haven't seen them yet. But no, I would rather see everybody's home team, road team, unis, and I don't care. Make it all home. I mean, it's a meaningless game. I know that the World Series home field advantage, if that means anything, is up for grabs. But I mean, let's be honest, it's a meaningless game where a lot of people just come see the best of the best and enjoy the mile high air. I guess now since it's got moved from Atlanta to Denver. So, do you watch the All Star games or do you kind of just bypass them?
I watch them because I like to see the just to see the different talents on display. And somebody said about like the NBA All Star game, where it's that it's almost they're like it's like they're both teams nearing 80 by the end of at halftime. And people say, well, there's no defense. I'm not going to watch this. That's not the point. The point is each player putting on his respective skills. And it's entertaining. And you only get to see it one time a year. That you'll get to see, multiple players unless it's signed contracts to be on the same team, form a super team on the floor at the same time. And it's just really watching these players work together and do great things and just put on their talents for the audience to see. So I like watching All-Star games.
I will actually watch it just because usually on All Star night there is nothing. Now, granted, there's nothing on TV, period. But I'll definitely watch it just because. No, I like to see the best of the best, especially when it comes to pitching. And I know a lot of people don't like pitching, but I'm a huge fan of pitching, especially because I've always said that the best hitters are in the American League. The best pitching is in the National League until they get to the American League and they kind of fizzle because they realize that there's better hitting. And I get that's not all the time true, but as of lately, it's been. But even the National League starting to get better in regards to hitting. I wish the National League before we headed to the NBA playoffs and the lottery. I wish the National League though would get the DH. I'm just not very fond of pitchers hitting just yet.
Yeah, me neither. And there are some pitchers that can. Look at Shohei Ohtani. The reason he's getting all that attention is because he's a pitcher, but he's also a very good hitter at the same time. But I like the universal DH, and it's kind of interesting to watch it because you get the American League and the National League playing in what they call interleague games. In case you're not a baseball fan, the American League and National League teams play each other throughout the year, and the rules depend on what home team is. The home team's National League, they play by National League rules, and vice versa if they're in the American League. And it's interesting because the National League, where the pitchers used to batting, goes to the American League. All of a sudden, he's on the mound, but he doesn't have to bat. And then the National League team has to figure out who they're going to have as their DH. And I would love to see universal DH because it would let the pitchers focus on throwing. Is it great to have a pitcher that hits? Absolutely. Especially to watch Ohtani do what he does for the Angels. But the last thing you want is for something to happen, heaven forbid he gets hit in the batter's box on his throwing arm, and all of a sudden he can't pitch the rest of the game. What are you going to do then? It's just that risk. And to me, you just can't have that risk.
No, I agree. And we'll try again, folks. Twitter, I don't know what's going on, but anyway. Nonetheless, the All-Star break is coming up. Trade deadline is the end of July, I believe, and I'm sure, especially if you're the Yankees, I can see the Yankees, I can see some other ball clubs making some moves to try to remain somewhere in the race, try to get back in the race, or maybe they just improve their chances to get there. But switching gears to the NBA playoffs, it's sponsored by Storm Check. Are you terrified about what lurks in your storm shelter when the tornado sirens sound? Do you feel prepared to spend the night in your shelter? Allow Storm Check and their team of military veterans to put your mind at ease with their services. Check them out, stormcheck.team, to get you set up and making sure your storm shelter is ready and cleaned out for when you have to use it. Here in Oklahoma, it's Oklahoma-based local business, and I love the owner and his wonderful wife and good bunch of people. So definitely check him out. But David, definitely the NBA lottery. I don't know. I was from I think it's 14 on up. I was hoping the Thunder would have gotten top three. I didn't think we had the chance for one. But I really thought top three. I don't know about you, David. It just wasn't very the drama wasn't there. It was more this year's lottery is more predictable than I think it was anything else.
Yeah, it definitely was, and I was a little disappointed myself because I wanted at least the top five, and I figured that would be good for us. And then if Houston had fallen out of the top four, we would have gotten their pick from the Russell Westbrook trade.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we acquired their pick. But the way the lottery worked, Houston got number 2 and we got number 6. And Houston gets to keep their pick, and we're just kind of like outside looking in. I wasn't surprised. I was a little surprised to see Detroit win the lottery draft. I thought maybe maybe one of the other teams had a chance to win it, but with Detroit's just a big old hot mess up there in the Motor City. They don't have a superstar to build around, which led me to believe that I read a comment online that said as soon as Detroit won the lottery, Cade Cunningham went back to Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I was good to see Ben Wallace be the representative for the Detroit Pistons. I thought that was cool. He definitely aged though. Since the last time I saw him, definitely doesn't have the afro anymore. But no, it's definitely good to see Ben Wallace back, at least on TV for a few minutes anyway. Hakeem Olajuwon was another one. But that was cool. Yeah, it was a bummer. I really was hoping to get something out of the Houston trade for Russell Westbrook to get at least, to say you got something out of it. I thought that would be cool. But nonetheless, of course, the Thunder are at number 6. They got the pieces that can move up. I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, if they're really, and I don't know if Detroit would be willing to give up that first pick. I don't know, because Cade Cunningham is an excellent player. No, I'm not an OSU fan, but I will give credit when credit's due. And he's a heck of a player and a game changer and a team that they can build around, assuming that that's their guy, which I would imagine. I would imagine Cade Cunningham is their guy. But you look at Houston. I really thought Cleveland. I was thinking to myself, man, if Cleveland, I think they finished about 30. If Cleveland got the first pick, I would have loved just to lay down in bed and just scroll through Twitter at that point, because it always seems that Cleveland has that first pick. But no, I was disappointed, to say the least. Of course, when we drew the 6th pick, I'm like, well, this is it. Houston's got to be out of these next 2 picks, otherwise, or the next 1 pick. Otherwise, we get no other ones in the top. But no, I still like our picks. I think we got 3 in the first round.
I think 3 in the first round and 2 in the second round, and we've also got the financial backing to actually draft 5 players if we wanted to. But knowing Sam Presti, he's going to be looking to trade one of them or 2 of them away, and even after I saw we got the 6th pick, I thought, you know what, Sam Presti's a GM and he knows what he's doing. I think he can pull something off. In fact, when we got Paul George from the Pacers a few years ago, one of the local news stations started calling Magic Sam, because presto, here's Paul George, who I didn't think we even had a sniff of a chance of getting, but I'm gonna leave in his hands. One of the mock drafts I'm looking at says projects us to get Scotty Barnes out of Florida State, and he can handle the ball, make his teammates better. He has the potential to defend across multiple positions. He's got a bit of a shaky jump start, but the rest of his game can make up for any shortcomings. So it should be interesting to see what the Thunder do with the NBA draft.
Most definitely, and they're in a position. Yeah, you're not in the top 5 and top 3 like they were hoping for, top 4 even. But which I think a lot of Thunder fans, which I read quite a bit of tweets. It was interesting to say the least that what everybody thought of. I think the most famous one that I read was, so if had we lose the final game of the season against the Clippers, would that give us a better chance? I don't know. I really don't think it would have, personally. I don't know how much of a other percentage we would have got if we were lost. If we were going to tank, I know I read that that's another one. If we were going to tank, then why don't we just tank? But but anyway, I'm not no GM. Trust me, if I was a GM, the Denver Broncos would be a whole different look than what we are currently. Not saying George Payton is doing a bad job, or Sam Presti with the Thunder, or Brian Cashman, with the Yankees. It might be time for change. But nonetheless, I'm like you. I'll leave Sam Presti alone because I'll be honest with you. I don't know what he's wheeling and dealing to these other teams. But and speaking of trades, if you guys missed it last week, which I was shocked when we got it, when I got the notification, Kemba Walker is coming to Loud City in the trade. We got the Kemba Walker. Now, here's my thoughts here in a second. We got Kemba Walker, second-round pick, and this year's first-round pick. Coming to here, we send off, I think, a second-round pick, Al Horford, and Moses Brown, I believe, is what the trade deal was. Moses Brown is a project, whether or not I liked what he brought to the table when he was on the floor for Oklahoma City. Al Horford is just finishing out his career, and rightfully so. Kemba Walker, here's the interesting one, and this is where I think is interesting because would I love to see Kemba Walker? Absolutely. Now, how in the world we got a first-round pick out of this along with him, I don't know. The only thing I can think of, and definitely give your thoughts, is there a chance we let him go or do another sign and trade deal with another team for Kemba Walker?
Well, I think Kemba Walker is actually going to play some games for the Thunder. He's coming off. The reason he was traded is because he's battled a couple of knee injuries over the last couple of years, and the team didn't feel like he was a liability at this point, so they looked to move him. I think Sam Presti is going to have him prove that he can still play, which is going to entice some other teams, and we can probably get a better asset that way rather than sign and trade. Someone here in the Oklahoma City area had Kemba Walker playing 20 games this next season for the Thunder. So I think he'll play some, show that he can still ball, and then they'll generate some interest from the other teams, and we could probably get a couple halfway decent players. Not knocking Kemba Walker, of course, but some young players in return that we can help further develop and build around SGA, who is our big superstar that we're trying to build around.
I like it, and if we can get some action out of Kemba, I think him and SGA can definitely be a pretty nice duo. I mean, obviously, Kemba's not the future, and obviously SGA is, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, his contract's up at the end of this year. So hopefully we can get that max deal for him and keep him here in Oklahoma City, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know if you saw the rumor. This is all I'm taking it out of. Obviously, it's just a rumor. Is Kyle Kuzma, of course, from the Lakers, is potentially, a lot of people have him as potentially signing with the Thunder in the offseason. That would be a pretty decent addition. I want to say it's a home run move, but he can play and he can get some minutes in. Speaking of minutes, your thoughts, of course. Game 4 is tonight in Atlanta. Milwaukee leads, I should say, the series 2-1. However, Trae Young is out for Game 4. This is a time, and I'm looking forward to this game. This is a game that I really, unfortunately, would like to see how Trae Young-less Atlanta Hawks does without their star player Milwaukee rolled them last in Game 3. Do you think the Hawks have a chance to beat Milwaukee and try to even this up? Because it'd be a bad way to go to Milwaukee down 3-1.
It will be, and I think they have a decent chance. The having to adjust without a player mid-game is, especially late in the game, as Trae Young was in the third quarter, it's very difficult for any team, unless you just have to have just a next man up mentality. I think as soon as the MRI revealed it was a bone bruise, he was listed as questionable. They started to come with a game plan to play without him, and then it became official just a short while ago that he's out for the game. I'll be intrigued to watch the first half and see if they adjust or not. If they don't play the first half without it, they may not stand a chance. And then, of course, going back to Milwaukee down 3-1, it may very well end very quickly on their part, which is disappointing because I'm wanting Atlanta to go far. But Trae Young's only 22. He's got his whole career in front of him. This is just a bump in the road, and he may come back next year even better, and then Atlanta have a chance to build a couple guys around him. So if something were to happen, they don't have to, be up a creek without a paddle if he gets hurt.
Absolutely. And for everybody that's out there, also, I think highly of Trae Young, and it's not just because he's an OU alumni, but more importantly, he's just an excellent basketball player. I still can't believe he can shoot the ball 7 feet out from the hoop and still make it nonetheless. It's going to be interesting. I like to see how Atlanta adjusts without Trae Young, how of course, the fan base is going to be behind him, which will help out. Have this be in Milwaukee would be a really bad spot if you're Atlanta, but I think the crowd gets into it. We'll see how they can adjust. Of course, tomorrow Phoenix can try to yet again to end that series in Los Angeles. The Suns are up 3-2. Of course, coming off a 14-point loss to the Clippers, I believe it was yesterday on Monday. Your thoughts on this 3-2? Can we finally see Chris Paul in the NBA Finals tomorrow night?
Well, I'm hoping so too. I would love to see Chris Paul NBA Finals, but the Clippers are playing. You just get off to a hot start is what happened. The Clippers just went off like a rocket, and Phoenix never could catch up. If they do that again, there will be a game 7. The Clippers are just too good if they get that start. But I'm hoping that Chris Paul can go to the NBA Finals once the team likes playing one. But I think the Clippers, they're getting together, and if they can put a whole game together, they're going to make it very, very difficult for the Suns.
I think if the Clippers can do what we all thought they could do when Paul George went to the Clippers, when Kawhi Leonard went to the Clippers, what we all thought is dominate, and he could do another 40-point showing like he did last night, we're definitely going to see Game 7, and then I would unfortunately have no doubt that the Clippers at that point would have all the momentum to get into the finals, of course, trying to get out of that shadow of their big brother. But I really would love to see Chris Paul finish out. Not going to say that they will win it, but at least finish out in the NBA Finals. Heck, I'd rather see him win it, and then he'll definitely retire, I'm sure, at that point. But of course, scroll through Twitter, everyone. Just scroll through Twitter. And you got the sports conspiracy theories out there that they think that this is a conspiracy theory. I don't see how. I don't care about all that. But no, I think if George goes off like he did last night, and if this team can group together and play, it's going to be tough for Phoenix to try to keep these guys down.
Yeah, and they're just it's turning into a very entertaining series in the Western Conference Finals, and I was very surprised to see that the Clippers are making it this far, and they flipped LA. If you were told me at the beginning of the basketball season that the Staples Center will be used, for deep into the postseason, but it's going to be used for the Clippers instead of the Lakers. I will say you're out of your mind. But here we are. And the Lakers are sitting at home, and the Clippers are the ones playing in the Staples Center. But I think it's great. And the fact that if the Lakers can get healthy and compete with the Clippers, like I've said before, to have the competitive series between the Clippers and the Lakers is going to be entertaining for the NBA and for Los Angeles.
I'm looking forward to it. Again, of course, Game 6 tomorrow on Wednesday night for the Clippers and Suns. Of course, tonight, Tuesday night, for all you listeners out there, so you don't get confused. Tuesday night, which is tonight, but regardless, game 5 now for the Hawks, or game 4, I should say, for the Hawks and for the Bucks. But nonetheless, I don't know about you, David. I tried my best to keep my eyes on OU Champ U barbecue that took place last week in the Gaylord Family Memorial Stadium, or I should say Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. But from what I read, it was a successful event that was practically sponsored by Lincoln Riley, but by Lincoln Riley, it was an event that a lot of previous former players, alumni attended. I know I saw Adrian Peterson was there, Trent Williams was there, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, to name a few that were there. Brought in, of course, a lot of big name players that they're currently trying to go after. I know Raleek Brown. I think he's a top. I think he's in the 8th nationally ranked overall, one of the top running backs coming out of the 22 class. I believe he committed not too long ago. He was there, talked about how amazing it was. Brown also, mentioned about how he talked to CD, Lamb, Hollywood Brown, D.D. Westbrook, Sterling Shepard. The list goes on and on in regards to who he talked to, trying to get how he felt. A lot of other players I'm looking up as well. 5-star defensive end Omi Abower. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. Defensive end Derek Moore and top running back Javonte Barnes was there as well. Of course, the number 4 prospect Malachi Nelson was there as well. The top-ranked receiver Brandon Innes was there. Lebus Overton was there as well. From what I read, I know other 5-stars. Jalen Hill, the second best wide receiver, was there as well. David Hickson, among others. The list goes on and on. That was there. What's your feedback on what you read? Kind of digest on your end. My end sounds like Oklahoma has a successful Champ U barbecue. I love the cars in the south end zone. That was pretty magnificent. I don't know who took those. I don't want all of them, but at least give me one of them. But jokes aside, excellent showing by the University of Oklahoma. From what I read, from the pictures, of course, I'm going to be a little homer here, but that's perfectly fine. But excellent. From what I read from Lincoln Riley, he said it was the biggest recruiting weekend in his era. So your thoughts on this sounds like a successful recruiting event weekend.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it concluded a 15-month dead period, mainly due to the pandemic, where recruits couldn't even make visits. And kudos to Lincoln Riley for pulling this thing off. I mean, you talk about being able to show off what you can do, what you've got. And he did great to show these recruits his targets, to say, hey, this is what you're coming into, and to rub noses with some of the Sooner greats of years gone by. You want to see a Heisman Trophy winner, Kyler Murray, there, and you have Sterling Shepard, like you said, was there, and DeMarco Murray, got his first big win since being brought as a running backs coach. Gavin Sawchuk, the running back out of Valor Christian in Colorado, number 2 running back in the nation, formerly committed to OU. And as much as I love to have him, I just had that little uneasiness until signing day makes it official. And because they can still flip. But he said he wants to be a Sooner, and I believe him, and I'm hoping that he can ink his name when the time comes, and then come next year or the year after to see what he can do. I lived in Colorado with my mom's side of the family for a number of years, and Valor Christian was one of those juggernauts. They're the Colorado what Tulsa Jenks and Tulsa Union are here at Oklahoma, just winning the state title year after year after year. And I'm just excited about what he can do for the Sooners.
I'm excited for what Lincoln Riley has done. I mean, obviously, I know Bob Stoops did a phenomenal job at Oklahoma, and I know in his book I haven't read his book yet. I would love to read it, but I need to get it first before I read it. But I know he says that, hey, the real reasoning why I retired was in there, so I don't know exactly what it was, but nonetheless, I think is one of those moments that Oklahoma knew what they had in Lincoln Riley. I'm sure Lincoln's phone was going off for interviews and interest from other programs, and rightfully so. He's done a phenomenal job at Oklahoma, and not so much at Oklahoma, but he's done phenomenal at East Carolina, and I think Texas Tech was during his tour as well. Wherever he goes, he's successful, and I think the OU's hit a gold mine, which is nothing new at Oklahoma, for exception of a few coaches, Jeff Capel. But nonetheless, I think jokes aside, I think he's done a phenomenal job at Oklahoma. I know they've got some recruits already committed for the upcoming class, and even the class of 23 coming in or inked in, or however you want to call it verbally, I guess, for 23. But it's an exciting time. I know they keep talking renovation and more of the stadium. I don't know. All I know is I do know the press box is the next thing. I just don't know when. I know a lot of people are wanting the enclosed on the north end to happen. Don't know if it's going to. But nonetheless, no, it's an excellent weekend. From what tweets and everything else, it was successful. I guess it was what they were hoping for. And like you said, I'm excited for this program. I mean, if you look there for the running back core, because the fact that I believe they're still young in the running back core, but you got, you look at the core itself, Marcus Major, of course, he kind of got his name out there in the open when during the OU Texas game. He got there named open. Of course, Marcus Gray, I believe is his name. It's a transfer from Tennessee. Of course, Kennedy Brooks is back, and I don't know, but I know it's a successful weekend for It was a home run event from what I read and saw the pictures of, and I still love the cars. Of course, Texas, the lovely Texas Longhorns down south from here, had something similar to what OU had, so I thought that was kind of funny. But anybody out there definitely know that we're 66 days away from college football. I'm excited, or at least from OU football. I'm sure it's less than that because they always have that week before the big boys play. But let's just say less than 2 months. I'm excited for it. Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And everybody's talking about the OU Nebraska game and first time in a little over a decade that we've played, but Nebraska isn't there yet. And I'm afraid it's going to be a one-sided affair. It's not going to be like a game of the century that was 50 years ago this year. But I think if the OU's one of those teams has the thing about bringing the best out in teams, and they can Nebraska can get back on track, and we can make this a somewhat annual game, a semi-annual game. We'll play every other year or so. I think it'd be great. The one game that really concerns me this year is the Iowa State game.
Yep.
They've beaten us twice in the last 2 years. They beat us in 2017. We had Baker Mayfield. Of course, we didn't really have a defense that year. We have a defense this year, which is surprising, but it's a welcome relief. But I think it's just one of those. I would say it's one of those teams that we've got to be really, really careful with, and if we're not careful, they'll stun us again. But I'm looking forward to it. I want to enjoy the summer, but I'm really looking forward to college football and getting back into the things of tailgating, going down to Norman for hours, and just hanging out with football fans. Missed that last year, and it was kind of left a void.
Yeah, it's definitely. I'm definitely ready for it. I know it's going to bring some back of normalcy. Of course, I believe, as far as I know, it's across the board. Everyone's going to be full capacity. I know OU obviously is. I'm sure country-wise, it's going to be full capacity across. I know Phil Steele, if you guys don't know him, a wonderful, phenomenal college football analysis. He always has a yearly magazine. He picked Oklahoma to win this year, the national championship. So we'll see. And here, what concerns, I shouldn't say concerns me, but I always hate to be the one that's predicted to win. Because it's kind of like that Madden curse. Now, granted, Denver hasn't been on the Madden cover, I don't think, ever. I just don't I just don't want to be the it seems like when we were predicted is when the season goes really south.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it was there's the Sports Illustrated curse is what the equivalent is. In fact, the first I think it was the year we were playing Georgia in the Rose Bowl. We were they had like these regional covers, the Sports Illustrated, where they had a preview of the playoff games, and so everybody was on the cover at some point. But there's times where I don't want to see it because it's like now we're jinxed, but a little superstitious about that. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Looking to see what Alex Grinch can do. I think this is his third year in the at Oklahoma, so this is a real chance to really get going on his defensive. And if he does really good, do not be surprised if he starts to get entertaining offers to be a head coach somewhere, because it's one of those things where people are going to be watching. Hey, if this guy can take a team like Oklahoma, the butt of the college football, because hey, the Big 12 doesn't play defense, turn them around to where they can win a national championship. What can he do for our school? And so they're going to be entertaining offers, but we're just going to take it one game at a time and see what happens.
Well, most definitely, and I think that this guy, excuse me, he's done a phenomenal job, of course, with the players he got when he came into it. And the one thing I love about Alex Grinch, and I know we're mainly talking about the champion, but so reflects recruiting, is when he came in right after that first season, he flat out told X, Y, and Z, you ain't going to play for me. So here's, practically gave him the option to transfer. And hey, you ain't going to play. If you do, it's not going to be much, or potentially special teams. Practically cleared house. And I like that, because that shows him, hey, it's going to be one of those things, do it my way or the highway. And so I applaud him for it. I know Buki's no longer there, and I'm sure I'll probably keep an eye on him in Washington and stuff like that. But no, he'll definitely be getting entertaining some offers, especially if Oklahoma goes, undefeated, Big 12, another Big 12 championship, and obviously get their first semifinal win in the course of national championship. I think even if they don't go undefeated but still win the national championship, of course, it would probably have to be a one-loss team, but I still think he gets off. Nonetheless, he gets offers, and I don't know what his contract is, but I know he's better start if they want to keep this core together, they're going to have to slowly but surely start paying the paying the coaches.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, because if they say money talks, and if the right offer comes across the table, these coaches are going to say, "Okay, I want to pack my bags and I'm box up, and I'm going to get on out of here and go climb the coaching ladder." But it's one of those things where, hey, you better reward these guys for what they do, because otherwise they're going to start looking elsewhere.
Oh yes, and OU's a young team. This team can. I hate to use the word dynasty, especially in college sports, because the fact that so much goes into it. You got the portal, which is a huge thing now. It seems like anybody and everybody's going to go into it if you don't like what's going on. Used to be, you had to sit out a year if you transferred. I don't know. That's a great question. David, do you know about the chance? Is that still a rule, even in the portal, that even if you transfer, you still got to sit out a year? Or is it practically you transfer and you can play?
I have to look that up, but I think it was originally you had to sit a year, but because of COVID, I think they kind of looked they relaxed it for a minute bit, but with some teams playing and some teams some teams playing and some teams not, but I'm not sure if you can still play it right away or not, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to look it up right quick, but I don't know how the well, actually, yeah, it was earlier this year they formally approved the new transfer rules that you can play immediately without having to wait a year.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, for all the listeners out there, that shows you my age. I still remember, because growing up, I mean, obviously I'm not that old, but when you look back, you're starting to get up there. No, it used to be that's what it was you transferred, and let's just say Josh Heupel transferred, he would have to sit out a year. And usually, if you're a junior, that's a bad way to end your career, because obviously you're not going to play unless you can get that NCAA fifth-year appeal approved by the committee and so on and so forth. Yeah. One thing I was going to mention, and I know since we're talking about it, college football. College football, of course, the expansion a few weeks back, we mentioned it. They approved now, I guess, the first process of it. So this might be happening. We might be getting 12. I don't know if we'll get 16. I'm probably not there yet. But sounds like we're in the right direction of getting that playoff expansion.
Yeah, and but I think the problem is you're going to have two teams, from multiple conferences, multiple teams from the conference, though, and we all know that the SEC is king, and the fact that they have two teams in the current playoff a couple of years ago was one thing, and then putting maybe three teams in the new playoff, like, okay, the SEC, is getting kind of tired of them guys. But do I like it? Yes. Am I a fan of it? No. And the reason is because you're going to have a team that, unless they can figure out the seeding situation, I don't know if the same committee that determines seeds for the men's basketball tournament will do the football tournament, or they're going to have different committees do it, come up with seeding, because the last thing you want is a mismatch in the first round because they can't figure out how to seed players. You look at what happened in the Women's College World Series last month with the way the seeds worked. You had Wichita State and Oklahoma, two of the very best softball teams, play in a regional, and there was only one team that was going to come out of that regional, even though both of them deserve to be in the Women's College World Series. So I hope they can figure out the seeding. If they can figure the seeding, I'm on board with it. But I have to see how they're going to figure out how to work the rankings. If they should go by the rankings, like the poll rankings, AP and coaches poll, or they can have an entirely different seeding. It should be interesting to watch if they how they do the seeding.
Well, hopefully, as long as it's 12 or 16, obviously 8 sounds like it's not going to happen. I still go 8 to at least slowly expand it. I don't think you can just jump from 4 to 12 and expect this thing to work. I don't know. But nonetheless, I think that if they can get I'm with you. If they can figure out, okay, here's the formula. Here's what you can't have on your schedule. Here's what you can have on your schedule. Obviously, strength of scheduling, I think personally should go into it. I get, these schedules, a lot of these schedules are way in advance schedule. I get that part. But there's got to be a way to say, okay, strength of schedule has to play a point because it's not fair for your SEC teams to play Cupcake Junior High School and Cupcake Senior High School, and then yet they win by 60-something points. And here comes, let's say, Oklahoma, who will lose to, let's say, if they play Georgia, which they do down in the future, they lose by 4. I just don't see, and then they get punished for it, or they lose to a team that they eventually beat Iowa State last year, and after losing the first time. I don't see where the fairness of it is. Of course, you always get those. Speaking of SEC, real quick, while we're talking the SEC, Chrissy Floyd is coming on the show this week, a huge SEC fan, of course, a publisher of Sports Illustrated Fan Nation channel dedicated to all things Mississippi State. And she writes for the USA Today, the LSU Tigers and Tennessee Titans. Of course, she's a part of the Draft Network. The LSU grad, Chrissy Ford, will be on this week. No, I'm definitely going to be interested and kind of talk some SEC. She'll be the first SEC person I can physically just what is it that you guys are so obsessed with? Why are you guys thinking you guys are the big boys? I get you guys had success. I'm not knocking that. But the world doesn't evolve around the Southeastern Conference. I know it does, but it actually truly doesn't.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where and I think it's just all that winning's going to their heads by habit. You get used to winning, and you look at what happened in Oklahoma back in the 50s. I think it was the 50s when they had that 47-game winning streak, which is still a record. I mean, teams have come close, but then they've faltered along the way. To show you how unbreakable that record really is.
It is, yeah.
But the SEC is just, I think they just, like I said, they've gotten a little up in their heads because they've won all this year and they don't want to lose because they feel like if they start losing, recruits are going to start looking elsewhere. And it's one of those things where, Nick Saban can take a recruit and say, this is what you're coming into. Look at all these trophies. This is what you're going to get if you come to us. And he doesn't want to lose that recruiting edge. And that's what college football is all about. Quite frankly, college sports, it's a recruiting edge. And you'll take any edge you can get. And if it means that you're going to lose your recruiting edge because you stop winning, then you're not going to be a fan of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and and you look at this out, I know we're getting way off subject from Champ U, but it still brings back to recruiting, which in fact was a Champ U barbecue last week, and what it was. Yeah, if you can't recruit, and it doesn't matter if you're Lincoln Riley or Bob Stoops or if you're Mike Gundy or I don't care who, Mike Leach at Mississippi State or Nick Saban or Ed Orgeron, which I thought was a joke of a hire, but guess what? He proved my point. But nonetheless, if you can't recruit, you can't win. Obviously, college sports, especially college football, is a humongous moneymaker. I'm going to be honest with you. And I know I said this on somebody's show. I was a guest on, I think, when I first started this podcast thing. And I think I mentioned it. I'm going to still stick to it, probably in a different degree, though. I still think eventually, not right now, because the NFL is a huge money monopoly maker. But I really personally believe college football is going to be close to that level here in the next few years. They've gotten as big time can get.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, and if OU can keep some of these recruits or even get some flips from other schools that based on what these players saw online about this whole Champ U barbecue, don't be surprised if other schools start copying that idea. Just like I said, it goes back to that recruiting edge.
Hey, it's all about recruiting, and I know our stepsons or stepbrothers down in Austin. I'm sure that they're trying to figure that out. I know that they were trying to copy to an extent of what Oklahoma did, and I get it. They want to be like they want to be like us. So I, I totally get it. I'm still gonna get my way down to Dallas this year. I gotta check that bucket list off my name.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm thinking, maybe just going down to Dallas for the game and just going to the Texas State Fair will be tremendous. Just taking that atmosphere down there.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I've never been down that time. I've driven by it once, not the State Fair, but just a Cotton Bowl, and it's not in the world's greatest of area at all, and it's unfortunate, but definitely all you listeners out there, especially if you're from the Dallas area, be careful if you're not very familiar with it. It's a interesting but not a good part of town, and that wasn't me that's saying it either. So, but anyway, David, as always, it's been fun, and we got show number 2. Thursday?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I'm so screwed. I thought yesterday was Tuesday, so here I am about to say, well, I guess I'll see you. Talk to you tomorrow as well. I'm so screwed up on my days, but
yeah, it is. This is you weren't feeling well, and I was kind of busy on last Thursday, so we kind of postponed it to this week. Kind of made a little bit of a longer show, but we'll have to talk. Matt, definitely make plans to go Thursday because we could have the NBA Finals set if the Hawks win, then Bucks win tonight, and then the Suns win tomorrow. Well, the Suns are in, and then the Bucks could very well be in for after Thursday's game. So we'll have to make plans Thursday to do a somewhat NBA Finals preview. Of course, if the Clippers are still in it, well, then it'll be more interesting than that. So we'll be looking forward to it.
Definitely, we'll be definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully, we can get some NBA Finals in there. Not saying I'm counting out the Clippers and the Hawks, but it'd be nice to get some NBA Finals. I'm sure there's gonna be more Major League Baseball. I know recruiting's up in the air now. I know there's a few recruits that was in limbo today, so we'll talk all that hopefully in the future as well on Thursday. But David, enjoy your game 4 tonight between the Hawks and the Bucks.
Most definitely. You have a good night, Michael.
You as well. Everyone, you've been listening to the Air Raid Attack podcast. Follow the show, @airraid_podcast on Twitter. Listen to us on the Unhinged Sports Networks every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, listen and subscribe, follow us, rate us, all that good stuff on all the podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcast from. And, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. All more of that information will become here in the next few days. David, enjoy game 4, and we will see you all Thursday night.